Recently, my wife and I were visiting Israel. One of the many places that we visited was the Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem, a place called Yad Vashem. This name is taken from Isaiah 56:5 and means a place to memorialize the names. Within this complex is an area called the Garden of the Righteous Among the Nations. It's a walkway of trees planted and dedicated to the righteous non-Jews like Oskar Schindler and Corrie ten Boom, who were willing to stop at nothing to save Jewish lives from the Holocaust. German law regarded Jews as non-human. German law ruled Jews were a blight whose only solution was their annihilation. Yet these righteous among the nations chose to disobey immoral, ungodly, unjust laws. Were they right to do so? Martin Luther King, in his famous letter from a Birmingham jail, differentiated between just and unjust laws. He said this, "One may well ask, how can you advocate breaking some laws and obeying others? The answer lies in the fact that there are two types of laws, just and unjust. I would be the first to advocate obeying just laws. One has not only a legal but a moral responsibility to obey just laws. Conversely, one has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. I would agree with St. Augustine that an unjust law is no law at all. Now, what is the difference between the two? How does one determine whether a law is just or unjust? A just law is a man-made code that squares with the moral law or the law of God. An unjust law is a code that is out of harmony with the moral law." Does God really approve of disobeying unjust laws? In Exodus 1, the Pharaoh had ordered the Hebrew midwives to feed Hebrew babies to the crocodiles. They disobeyed that law. With whom did God stand? In Exodus, another Pharaoh ordered the Israelites to stay put when God said to let them go. With whom did God stand? In Daniel 3, the law demanded that all bow down and worship Nebuchadnezzar's golden image, but 3 Hebrews refused to obey. With whom did God stand? In Daniel chapter 6, Darius issued a law that no one could pray to God. Daniel willfully disobeyed that law. With whom did God stand? In Acts 5, the Sanhedrin ordered Peter and John to quit preaching in Jesus' name. That was the law. Peter and John refused to obey. With whom did God stand? In fact, our founding fathers believed that resistance to tyranny was obedience to God. Please quit repeating the lie that the Supreme Court has ruled. Only kings rule. Justices offer opinions. And please quit saying that abortion is now the law of the land. Under the Constitution, only the Congress can make law, and their jurisdiction is very limited. Therefore, regardless of the Supreme Court opinions, there is no law forcing states to murder preborn children. Please read Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution. The Supreme Court actually has very limited jurisdiction. Most of what they do now is unconstitutional. They certainly don't have the authority to sanction murder or to redefine marriage. Now, we're told that the Supreme Court must reverse Roe v. Wade in order to end abortion in America. Folks, the Supreme Court will never admit they were wrong. If they do, their credibility and consequently their power will be stripped. In 1992, the court was primed to end Roe v. Wade in the case Casey v. Planned Parenthood. Of the 9 justices on the court, 8 were appointed by Republican presidents, and the one lone Democrat appointee had actually voted the right way in Roe v. Wade. All involved with the case believed that Roe v. Wade was finished. It's well known that Justice Kennedy flipped sides late in the process as he was convinced by other members of the court that even though they knew they were wrong, if they admitted to being wrong, then their credibility, the people's trust, and their power would forever be damaged. Therefore, they claimed that court precedents must be protected. Now, if 8 Republican-appointed justices didn't have the character to right a wrong 19 years after Roe, why do we think that 5 Republican justices will admit they were wrong 45 years after Roe? In their admission, they'll be admitting responsibility for allowing the murder of 60 million children. Ladies and gentlemen, it will never happen. All the while we wait, another baby is murdered in America every 5 seconds on the average workday. It's time for the righteous to stand for righteousness. Abortion is murder. Abortion is always wrong. It's always been and always will be. I no longer simply want to be pro-life. It's time to end abortion, not manage it. Fact number 1, the federal government does not have unlimited power. The Constitution creates, defines, and limits what all 3 branches can and cannot do. Fact number 2, there's no place in the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution that gives the Supreme Court the authority to force the legalization of abortion on the 50 United States. In fact, life is the first unalienable right guaranteed by both documents. Now, if liberal states can tell the federal government to buzz off while they legalize marijuana, why don't we do the same thing for life? For those of you that still think we should wait on the Supreme Court to act, remember this. On March the 6th, 1857, the Supreme Court officially declared that African Americans were not human beings, were not worthy of civil rights. To this day, the Supreme Court still has not reversed that decision. I'm Pastor Paul Bleer, and this has been A Moment of Truth.